back with another review for a Revolver expansion. This time we're going to take a look at expansion 1.4, the Tarnished Star. So it's been a while since I made my last Revolver review for expansion 1.3. I think it was about almost two and a half years ago. So I don't know what I've been doing since then. I don't know, not playing Revolver very much, I guess. But recently my friend bought Revolver 2 and gave it to me as a gift, and we had a lot of fun playing Revolver 2, which is actually a completely separate game from the first Revolver and all of its expansions. But that was a lot of fun. So then I was thinking, oh, I should probably go back and finish reviewing all the expansions for Revolver. So today we're gonna take one step closer to completing the reviews for all these things. So let me turn the box over and kind of see what we have here. So you see the thing in the bottom right corner, it says it includes 3 new playing modules. So we're gonna take a look at all the new things this expansion brings to the game, and take a look at all the new cards and all that. A lot of the cards are kind of wordy, so this video might be a little long, but I'll try to keep my comments to a minimum. So all right, let's dive right into expansion 1.4, the Tarnished Star. The duel outside the Black Dog Saloon. It's kind of the main addition to for this expansion. It's just kind of an event. It's not a battlefield or anything like that. But I think I remember why I put off making the video for expansion 1.4 is because I was having a hard time explaining how this little event works. But anyway, so the duel outside the Black Dog Saloon. If you guys want to play with this module, it gives you like the option in the instructions, like if both players agree to play with this module. But I mean, I don't know why you'd buy the expansion and not use it. But the way it works is this little event card, it would go outside the Rattlesnake Creek, and there's a couple of things you have to do for setup. One thing you would do is you would take the armed train guard, and you would put this guy in the Colonel McGreedy player's column on the 315 Express. So that's the last battlefield, and he basically just starts with a 3 firepower card there. So that's pretty good. And another thing you would do is you would take the child hostage token and you would put it at Rattlesnake Creek. So that's the setup you would do. And then you would just leave the duel card kind of next to Rattlesnake Creek. And then when you get to Rattlesnake Creek, the Jack Colty player, on any one of his turns at Rattlesnake Creek, the Jack Colty player can decide to activate this duel card. And he can only activate it if Cortez is still alive. So if Cortez is dead, you can't activate the duel card. But I mean, if Cortez is already dead and you're only on Rattlesnake Creek, you got other problems to worry about. So Cortez is probably usually going to be alive, or the game's going really bad for Jack Colty. So anyway, if the Jack Colty player, they want to activate the duel, what happens is both players draw 2 cards, and then it's basically like you're basically doing it like, okay, it's like a duel. You know, you're both putting down 1 card face down. So Jack Colty player would go first, put 1 card face down, any card from their hand face down, and then the Colonel McGreedy player has 3 choices. They can call his bluff. So the bluff would be Jack Colty has to play a card that has the padlock icon. So if you guys remember that little 3rd icon there, the padlock. So if he does not have a padlock and the Colonel McGreedy player calls the bluff, Colty would lose. Then the second option is the Colonel McGreedy player can back down to just give up. And then the third option is the Colonel McGreedy player can also play a card face down. So if they both play a card face down, they turn them over, see who has the highest firepower. Whoever has the highest firepower wins. But again, if the Jack Colty player does not have a padlock bearing card, the Jack Colty player loses. So, okay, so what happens if the Colty player wins? If the Colty player wins, first thing you would do is you would take the armed train guard out of the game, and then the next thing you do is you would take this poor little child hostage and you would put them on the Cortez card like that. So as you can probably guess, the child hostage is basically a True Grit token. You have to kill the child hostage before you can kill Cortez. So I think that's super messed up, but I don't know. I guess that's what happens. So anyway, and what happens if the Colonel McCready player wins? The child hostage is freed. They're out of the game, and the armed train guard stays there. So that's basically it. It's kind of, sorry if I didn't do a very good job explaining it. I probably missed some things or glossed over some aspects of the duel, but it's not a huge addition to the games itself. It's just like a one event. You know, it takes like a minute to do, but I don't know. Who doesn't have fun with child hostages, right? So, so yeah, that's basically the new module for expansion 1.4. The second module in this expansion is called McCready's Decision, and as you guys know, McCready, the McCready player, normally they start the game with $1 silver token. And in this module, the McCready player can decide to start with a second silver token. And if the McCready player wants to start with 2 tokens, there's a couple things you have to do. So the first thing is that the armed train guard, this guy, remember, he would get a True Grit token. And the next thing you would do is the Garrett, I don't know how to pronounce that. I probably should have looked up how to pronounce that before I made this video, but this guy would get slid under Santiago, who is, remember, Santiago is at the prison. So when the culty player goes to the prison and they free Santiago, they would also get to have this firepower card too. So that's basically it. Yeah, the McCready player starts with an extra coin, gets a True Grit, and then this card would go at the prison. So that's just a minor little addition to the game. I think we usually always do that because starting with two coins is pretty sweet. So yeah, that's McCready's Decision. Now we're going to take a look at the new Frontier deck cards in this expansion. So up first we have the Strongbox. So the Strongbox, when you play it, you gain $1 silver token. Place a card from your hand under the Strongbox, and you can look at the card that's under the Strongbox anytime you want, but when you put the card back in your hand, you discard the Strongbox. So this is just like if you have a good card in your hand and you want to save it for later and you're worried you might have to discard it at some point, you can keep it under there for safekeepings. That's the Strongbox. Up next we have Drusilla Wilcox, Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. So if Drusilla is at the current battlefield, draw an additional card in your draw phase, and you can discard 1 card to move Drusilla to the current battlefield. That's a pretty good card, but if you notice her firepower, it's -1. So she does hurt your firepower, but drawing an extra card during your draw phase is pretty sweet. So that's Drusilla. Alright, up next we have Chickenfoot dipped in rattlesnake venom. So name a card's full title, and if your opponent has one of those cards in their hand, they have to discard it. Otherwise, nothing happens. So this is a good card for the veteran players that have memorized all the cards in the deck and know the exact title and know, like, you know, the chances of them having that card in their hand. So if you can do that, props. It's happened before, but it's not that easy. So that's that. Up next we have Mary Lou's Shack. So you can put 4 +1 firepower tokens on this card, and you can move one of the tokens from this card onto any one of your cards in play during your turn, and you get rid of it when it's empty. And I think that's a discard 1 at random. I think your opponent gets to take 1 out, if I'm not mistaken. That's Mary Lou's Shack. Up next we have a Swarm of Horseflies. So this one allows you to pick up any one of your opponent's cards in play, except for the location and open range cards, and then you shuffle it back into the deck that you drew it from. and this one costs 2 discards to play. And up next, we have the Legend of Boggy Creek. So when you draw this card, you have to play it immediately. It doesn't go in your hand. So the person who draws it gains 1 silver dollar token, and then both players shuffle their hands back into their decks, and then draw the same number of cards back into their hands. So I hate this card so much, because you spend all game trying to build a great deck for the end, and then someone draws this, and all the cards go back in, and you have to draw new cards, and it's usually not nearly as good as the hand you had. So I don't like this card, but yeah, it's one of the downsides of the Frontier deck. You never know what you're gonna get. All right. Up next here we have Reverend Henry Kane. So if this card is at the current battlefield, in your draw phase, secretly put a spare token into one of your hands, and if your opponent correctly guesses which hand has a token, the card moves to the opposing column. If not, you get to keep it. So you're basically just playing the old magic trick, which hand is it in, and if your opponent guesses right, they get the card. If they don't, you get to keep the card. So that's pretty much it. Up next we have Curly, son of Ma and Pa Shepperson. So you can put a True Grit on this guy, or you can put a +1 firepower, and he already has 3 firepower, so it's a pretty strong card. It costs 1 discard to play, and you can put him at the prison face down, so that's not a bad one. And finally we have the the Shadow of Chikara. So this one allows you to use this new token that they introduced in this expansion. It's the Eagle token, and you can put it on any card, any one of your opponent's cards, and it basically renders that card blank. So whatever firepower, whatever special ability that card has, as long as the Eagle token is on there, it's blank. So that can be super devastating depending on what card you play it on. And there are ways to remove it, but it's not very easy to get the Eagle token removed. So I hate it when my opponent draws this card, because Eagle token can suck a lot. So anyway, there you have it. Those are all the new Frontier cards in this expansion. Now we're going to take a look at the new deck card to the Jack Colty player. So up first we have is the Upturned Wagon. It says no firepower. It costs 1 to play, but it does have the little gun sight symbol. So that means that if the McGreedy player wants to kill any of your firepower cards, they have to kill this card first. So anything with the gun sight has to be killed before anything else. And this expansion has 2 of these cards in it. So that's the Upturned Wagon. And up next we have Pull the Bars Out with a Horse. So this card, when you reach the prison, if the Colonel McReady player has double the guard card in play, you play this card immediately to destroy that card. So that's just a prison-only card. And up next, we have Trixie and Delilah Saloon Shakes. So this one, you put a +1 firepower token on this card for each 38 special card in your discard pile. So I think the 38 special is just a little 1 firepower card. Usually when you're building your deck, you don't put too many of those in your deck because it's not a very good one. But I guess you could have some sort of strategy where you have all those in your discard pile, and when you play this one, it could have pretty high firepower. So no, that's Trixie and Delilah. Next we have the Indian Burial Ground. This card costs 1 silver dollar token to play, and when you play it, you can remove the Shadow of Chikara token from play. So basically the Eagle token, and your opponent cannot play any Bounty Hunter cards at the current battlefield. So yeah, this is the card to get rid of that stupid Eagle token. So yeah, you definitely probably want to have this in your deck because the Eagle token sucks. All right. Up next we have the Ramshackle Hut. So this costs 2 discard cards to play. You search your deck for a card, shuffle your deck, then place the card you found back on top of your deck. So that's pretty good, especially later in the game if you're just searching for one card you need. And this does have some firepower, so Not too bad. And up next we have the Jakes, Rail Workers Privy Hut. So you draw 4 cards, but if Provoke Buffalo Stampede card is ever at the same battlefield, then you have to kill one of the bounty, the Jack Colty gang members, I guess, and then you discard this card. So this is a good card to play at the end of a battlefield, so you don't really give the Colonel McReady player an option to play any Buffalo Stampede cards. And up next we have Fan the Gun. So this one you put 2+1 firepower tokens for each 45 long Colt and 38 special cards in play at the current battlefield. So again, those are kind of the crummy 1 firepower cards from the base game, but yeah, again, that could be a strategy. You know, load up with those and play this one and the Trixie and Delilah card. And up next, last but not least, we have Travis Dane, Molly McGuire member. So when this card is at the current battlefield, your opponent must pay an extra card to play Get the Ropes Boys or Ambush cards. And you can move this card for free to the current battlefield. This is a really good card, but I'm sure your opponent will probably try to kill this card as soon as possible, because Get the Ropes Boys and Ambush cards are cards Colonel McReady player definitely wants to play quite often. So that's it for all the new cards for the Jack Colty gang, but I was a little confused because when I'm looking at the instructions here, it lists like all the new cards in the deck, right? So here's all the Jack Colty cards, and you can see it says I should have 2 Fan the Gun cards, but I only have 1. And if you notice the card we just talked about, Travis Dane, in the Jack Colty deck, he is nowhere in there. And you see he does have the little eagle symbol, and that's part of this expansion. Every card in this expansion has the eagle symbol, so he's part of the expansion, but he's like in all these cards right here. There's no Travis Dane, right? I'm not missing it, am I? So I don't know what happened there. I'm a little confused. That's fine. I'm not a big fan of Fan the Gun. No pun intended. Travis Dane's a little cooler, right, in my book, so I don't know if that's a mistake or I got a mixed up deck or what, but yeah, who knows? Leave your comments below or not. So okay, yeah, that's the new cards for the Jack Colty deck. Now we're going to take a look at the Colonel McReady players' new cards in this expansion. So the first one you have here is Double the Guard. This card can only ever be played at the prison, and you have to play it before you reach the prison. But it's got a ton of firepower. It's got six firepower, so this is a great card for the McReady player to play at the prison. Up next is the Rock-Strewn Vantage Points. There's 2 of these. So this one has 0 firepower, but you can see it does have the gun sight. So this card must be destroyed before any other cards at the battlefield. And when it is destroyed, you get to draw a card. So I'm a big fan of these 2 cards. And up next, also, there's 2 of these. It's the Texas Ranger. So this one has 3 firepower, and if Sister Sarah is dead, you discard this one from play, or you can discard this card from your hand to cancel a Robber's Roost or a Bandito's card. So 2 of those, pretty good firepower. And up next we have Clarence Stickley, Pinkerton Detective. So while Clarence is at the current battlefield, cards with Pinkerton in their title cost 1 less to play. So if you're a big fan of Pinkerton cards, and you got a lot of them in your deck, you definitely want to have Mr. Stickley there too. And speaking of Pinkerton, we also have this one. Trained in the Pinkerton way, means, policy, and devices. So you can slide this card partially under any sheriff badge wielding card in play, except for Buffalo, Stampede, and Old Three Toes. And that card gains the ability to move to the current battlefield for free. That's kind of a neat card to have, because then you can just put it under a card and move it around wherever you want. So if you got a card that's like loaded with firepower and true grit tokens, it'd be pretty sweet to be able to move that to the next battlefield. Up next we have the Volcanic Pistol. So this card also slide it under another card in play, and its firepower is added to that card. Or you can discard this card from your hand to destroy a token bearing chip card of Jack Colty's, or to get rid of the Eagle token. So Volcanic Pistol is pretty good one to have because you got a few different options of how to use it. And last but not least, we have Li Xiao, Chinese Rail Worker. So this one, you get to search your deck for a card, and then shuffle the deck and place that card you got back on top of the deck. And it's got 1 firepower. So that does it for the new Colonel McCready player cards in this expansion. That wraps up my review for the Revolver expansion 1.4, the Tarnished Star. Yeah, it's a solid expansion. The addition of the duel outside the Black Dog Saloon, it's not really a game changer, you know. It's a pretty minor addition as far as the gameplay goes. But I think the new cards for the Frontier deck, and then both the Colty and McCready players' hands, there's some pretty fun cards in there. So if you've got the first 3 expansions, I would obviously suggest you pick this one up too. You can probably find it for relatively cheap online somewhere. But yeah, another great expansion. So I've got expansion 1.5 to do, and there's a couple extra bonus cards. Maybe I'll do a review for those too. But yeah, hopefully I'll get that out in the near future. So, all right. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.